Hi, welcome at your channel Tarot Enlightenment with Anna Meek. I'm going to talk about the visits that I had from deceased people, visits from the dead. I'm not going to use all of my experiences because that would be very boring, but I made a selection of the finest, of the most interesting ones. Okay. When I was 13 years old, my grandfather had died already 6 years, and I noticed that he was with me. And it was as if suddenly, when I was 13 years old, I realized this isn't normal, right? I got older and I wasn't that naive anymore, but I was still pretty naive. And I went to my father, his father was my grandfather, and I told him, Grandpa is with me almost all of the time. And my father told me, oh, you don't have anything to worry about. Don't be afraid. He's always so gentle, so nice, so friendly. And I realized that it was true. So I nodded and, okay. And because my father was so cool about it, acted so normal, while he himself doesn't do anything with psychic abilities or whatever, or the dead, but I found it very normal to see what I see. And I have been thinking that everybody sees what I see till I was 33. Like I said, I'm still a bit naive sometimes about some things, but yeah. 5 years ago, I asked my grandfather, "Hey, it's not necessary anymore to be with me. I'm doing okay now. I know where to find things. I can ask angels or higher self myself now." Yeah, he was like a medium for the medium. Yeah, okay. When I was in high school, I wasn't friends with this guy, Matthias, I think you would say in English. And Matthias and I were always friendly. There was a sense of, I know you're weird, you're different, but I like it. It's interesting and I like it. I love you. It's as if we knew that from each other. And he was on a bicycle with 4 wheels through the school from one classroom to the other, accompanied by his father, because he had something, I don't even know exactly what it was, but in his kidneys weren't functioning quite well, and his hands were like this, and his legs couldn't really carrying him. And his father was a professor at university, but when Matthias got at the age of going to high school, his father said, okay, then I'm going to work there. When Matthias was 16 years old, he had to go to a special hospital in London, or in England. I say London. Most probably it was London, but I'm not sure. And his best friend, somebody who was also in the class with us, could come and meet him there for a couple of days in England. And the father was very generous towards us, and he said, we're going to put all your names in a basket and we will pull one out, and that person is also allowed to come to see Matthias and to spend a couple of days in England. And I wasn't chosen, don't think that. I wasn't chosen, but we were motivated to write him cards, to send cards to him. And I love writing. I loved writing, I still love writing, but back then I wrote so many things. And so I wrote him a letter, like a little book, I wrote about everything, about what was happening in the classroom, with his other friends, with me, with my friends, because we were in different group of friends, and then his father, after 2 weeks of sending the letter, came in the break towards me, and I was very clumsy with communicating and with socializing, especially with adults, especially with men, especially with men who were my teacher, and he was the teacher of economics, so not my cup of tea. And he called me outside on the street near the school, and he said, "Thank you so much for what you did to Matthias." And I was like, what did I do? And immediately I thought the worst of it. I thought that he was going to tell me that you shouldn't have wrote this or that, but nothing of the kind. He said, "Matthias is so happy with your letter. He is so happy. He's rereading it and rereading it again and again." And I was like, like, can I go now? And I also remember when he was in a hospital, his father invited me and my best friend then to his house, and it was around New Year's Eve, and we got to eat traditional food there, and but I felt very not comfortable. Yeah, but that was my whole story. But I was happy that I could help Matthias with it. I never saw Matthias again, and he died when he was 22. My mother saw it in the obituaries, and she told me, I'm happy she did, because sometimes she just didn't tell me when people would die, and then especially when I wouldn't live at my parents' house anymore, people would think that I was cruel because I didn't visit, I didn't pay respect, but I just didn't know that they were dead. I found out years later, sometimes. I'm quite sure more family members have died and acquaintances of them, which I also loved very much, but, well, anyway, it's not about my mother, not this time. And when I was, I think I was, it's like 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago. A friend of mine, she's also a medium, and I didn't work as a medium. She inspired me, she motivated me to do that. But she told me that there's always a boy around you. And she says, you might think I'm crazy, but I always see him with a bicycle. And I said, "Oh, that's Matthias with his sparkling eyes." And she said, "I can't see that." But and I said, why is he with me? I was surprised. I didn't recognize it. And she said, "Well, he's helping you with insights. He's giving you insights." And since then, for a decade, I noticed that when I got an insight, oh, that's what happened to me when I was little, so therefore I'm doing this all the time. If I would stop this in my behavior or in my way of thinking, then I will feel like that. And then I could apply it in my life, which was amazing, because sometimes I hear from other people things take like decades before you have changed some pattern. But it went so quickly for me. And it was because of Matthias. Matthias showed me, insights in my inner life, in my processes, my inner processes. And when I noticed it a couple of times, of course I started crying, and I was so grateful, and I thanked him, and I got on my knees, and I asked him to forgive me because I didn't write another letter, And this friend of mine, she said that I explained to her what Matthias meant to me, and she said, it's like he died with the letter from you in his hands, and he's so grateful. And maybe he literally held them till his last breath. It's possible. He took so much out of it for years. And she said that's why he's helping you, because he's so grateful. And in return, I was so grateful, immensely grateful towards Matthias. Yes. And same with my grandfather who helped me. It's not that I sent away Matthias, but it wasn't necessary anymore. Or maybe I got ahead of him. And because when you die, you don't become a saint. You don't become this know-it-all. You don't know more than that you did when you were on earth, on this earthly plane. Sometimes it might look like that because the higher self uses people who are deceased to visit you for just once and to give you a certain message, and then you can hear it because you love this person, or because you in shock because you can see somebody and then you believe it and then you act upon it. So that's a nice way. It's like it can also be put on t-shirts. If you see a message on a t-shirt that you really needed to read, really needed to get, it's a message from the higher self, if you feel touched by it. Yeah, so that was Matthias. Another thing that happened it's not in my youth, but I already had children, and I didn't want to go camping with the father and the children, with my boyfriend and the children. And I don't know why my nose is itching so much. I'm sorry if it bugs you. And it was on a camping site between the dunes and the sea. It was like in the forest, and you could get there via the parking lot, but you could also walk through the forest to go to the camping site. So when I said goodbye to the children, I went by myself to the train station walking, and I was enjoying nature because it was very lovely, and it was a little bit getting dark, and I was still a chicken in darkness back then, because my mom always told me how dangerous it is and what will happen to young girls and young women. And she would never read something out of the newspaper that was different than rape or assault, things like that. And I was walking there, and I saw this cat, and I think it was a feminine cat, and I saw this cat, and hello, I'm not particularly fond of cats, I'm not particularly fond of dogs either. I love all animals. I love cats, I love dogs, I love horses, I love beetles, I love everything, yeah. And I saw this cat, and I said hello, and then I continued walking. Meow, she said. And I turned around and I said, hey, hi. I already said hi, I made a joke out of it. And she meow very urgently. It was like she was pushing me to do something. But I didn't know what, so I was just standing there, and she looked at me, meow, again, and then she very quickly went into the bushes, and she said again, meow. So I went after her in the bushes, and she would walk for 1 meter, 1.5 meter, stop, turn around, and then meow, like, are you still there? And yeah, I'm there. And I thought maybe she has a little place with kittens, and maybe something's wrong with one of the kittens, or whatever, yeah, whatever. She was really calling me, and she walked 1 meter, 1.5 meter, turned around, meow, yeah, and then again and again and again, like 5 times. And then she turned around and she didn't meow. And that was so different than the rhythm we were in together, that I followed her lead, and that is, I became very quiet. There was silence, and we were there in the bushes. It was already like 5-6 meters away from the path I was walking on, and we didn't move, the cat didn't move. It was like we were just looking at each other, so there were also no branches, like there was no sound at all. And we were just sitting there in silence, and I heard footsteps. And I turned around very slowly, very silently to see, because I was afraid I would look weird. Yeah, I was in the bush with a cat who meowed me into the bushes, and I was sitting there, so I was very quiet, and I saw this man, like 2 meters long, very broad-shouldered. His beard, nowadays so many people have a beard, but those days it was actually a bit scary, and it was rough. It was a rough beard, very wide, and it wasn't nicely cut, and his hair was also very long, and it was especially his radiation. He was angry. This guy was aggression. This guy was anger itself. He was really like walking like that, and I watched him, and when he was away, I was like, oh my God, I am saved here. That was karmic. That was meant to be. I had horrible encounters with men before that, so something in my, how you call it, attraction system was still going on. I of course didn't want to, but some men felt, and still sometimes men feel attracted to me, feel attractive, no? Whatever, to me, and but I have nothing towards them, but they are so sure that I want something with them. And so I knew that, whoa, bad things would have happened if I would have still been walking on that path, because that man with his long legs would have catch up with me very quickly, if I wasn't in the bush and the bushes. And so I suddenly realized this cat saved me. So I looked in front of me at the place where the cat was, and she was gone. And I looked around, I couldn't find her at all. And only months later I realized that was my grandmother, because she had just died some weeks before that camping took place. And it was weird, because I knew she was dead, and well, like I said, I'm doing this clip because people visit me when they die. Many people visit me, sometimes just to say hi, just to say hello, and I only realize it sometimes when they visit a couple of days in a row. And there was this guy, I gave lectures for childcare, because in my experience some things went wrong, and I thought it might become better, and if I help people, and but on a higher level. And I talked with politicians and with how you call it, presidents from client borders, client clubs, I don't know the words, I'm sorry. And this guy Paul suddenly told me, you can't do that work anymore. And I was like, why not? I'm good at it, people like me, why not? No, because, and then he came up with some BS argument. Looking back, me and naivety, he was in love with me and I didn't want to do something with him. And then I still thought a lot about him because he thought a lot about me. And then all of a sudden, one day, it was really, really hard not to think about him. And I was like, I don't want to think about him because he wants to do horrible, well, dirty things with me. He texted me those things. And so I was like, no, Annemiek, don't think about him. Don't think about him. Don't affirm him into your life. And the next day, the same thing. And the third day, I realized, oh my God, you're dead. You're visiting me because you're dead and I sent you away. I'm sorry, why are you here? And he was there just to say hi and for the good times. And there was a little sorry, but not really. But so, anyway. So then I realized, my God, that was my grandmother, because she also came like a piece of light in front of me. And then I knew something had happened, and then I heard from my parents that my grandmother had died. Okay, so the next is a friend of mine, Ethel, and we were good friends. She had 3 children, wanted one more, got one more, and I had 3 children, and they all went to the same school, and they were in each other's class. So one child was in the class with one of mine, one of the and my children always could stay at their place that was in a village near the town that we lived in, and it was very lovely for all of my children. And there's one of my children is still befriended with one of her children, yeah. And her husband was in love with me, apparently for 2 years. I didn't know it. Naive, right? And I was happy that I had a good friend. I thought we were friends, and then he told me, I can't see you anymore because Ethel doesn't like it. And it was like he was slapping me in the face, because I felt betrayed. I thought we were just friends, and I was sad that I can't be friends with men. And he never saw me again. Well, on the, I call it, at school, we waved at each other, of course. But she, after 2 years, she came to my birthday party. I only celebrated my birthday 3 times in my life, and this was one of them. And afterwards we were talking together, everybody was gone, and she said, oh, I'm so happy we see each other again, and because well, my guy was in love with you, and it was horrible because I would lay there at night and doing things with me, and he just wouldn't notice because his mind was with you. And I said, I don't think I said anything. I mean, how to respond to that, right? And she said, oh, what's that book? And I had a book on palmistry, reading hand lines. And she gave me her palm, and I said, whoa, the first thing I noticed is that it's like, you're done. You have done everything you came here to do. And then she turned her palms around. I looked at the back of her hands, and I said, you look so old in your hands. I'm sorry, am I offending you? And she said, no, I know it. She said, no, I know it, and I don't want to be old. I just don't want to become old. And I was like, okay. Within a week, she got into coma. She had epilepsy, apparently, nobody knew. And after 3 days in coma, the doctor said, this isn't good. She won't wake up if she won't wake up today, and she didn't. And I was there when she died. I was there for him, to support him energetically, right? I didn't know it as a fact, but after a couple of days, after 2 days, I realized, hey, I was there. And I told him, after the funeral, and he said, I know, and thank you for telling me that, because I realized somebody was there and I couldn't quiet because my head was like, yeah, okay. And she was she was lovely. They had a good marriage, and her youngest was just 2, and he fell in love with me again, and I didn't know, and he did tell me, and he was so sure, because it was in his horoscope, in his birth chart, and it was in his palms, that he would meet 2 women that were really that would be really a good marriage. And I told him up front, I'm not one of those. Yeah, I know Ethel was one, and I'm very happy for you. You will remarry, but I'm not the one. It's not with me, yeah? But he stuck with me for 3 weeks. He needed 3 weeks to realize it wasn't me. And, but these 3 weeks were a present for me, because he showed himself totally. He was so open. I have never ever seen a guy with eyes that big. He was like a sponge, taking in everything that I said, and every feeling that he had. It was as if it wasn't coming from himself, but he was taking it in. It was so beautiful. It was very raw sometimes, of course, because there was also a lot of pain, and mostly it was such beauty. It was such beauty. We had a good time. Sometimes with all of our children together, then we would have 7 children to the swimming pool. Can you imagine? And it was fun also. But one day we were sitting, and I talked with him about Byron Katie, about the work, and I said, you know, the mind is weird, you know. The ego will come up with anything just to make you unhappy. And I said, can I give an example about Ethel, about her death? And he said, yeah, sure. And I knew he was sincere with his answer, because it was so open between us. And I said, well, when I heard as a fact that she died, my first thought was, oh, I hope the funeral is on a day that is good for me. And, oh, we were laughing, and he obviously wasn't upset. And then we were done laughing, and then he told me, you want to know what I thought when she died after that week, when I was sitting there for her, with her? I said, no. And we were already like laughing, because we knew that the mind can come up with such weird things. And in me, he found this comfort of just being there with his thoughts. I'm very good in being human, like all of you, yeah? And that's one of the messages I like to spread around. And he got it, really good, really good. I enjoyed him. And he told me the first thought when Ethel died was, good riddance. And if you're Dutch, opgeruimd staat netjes. And we laughed and laughed. Oh my god, we had such nice time about it. And sometimes I would see Ethel with eating an apple. Very funny, and she would throw it away. And once she threw it away, I knew that she would go. We never really talked, but it was very good in a way. It was good that she died, because it brought almost all of her friends together. There was like this web got created by, oh, you also knew Ethel, right? And where from, and what did you do together, and how long, and we made new friends, all of us, all of her friends, all of her girlfriends. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah, very lovely. Yeah. Okay. Now a story that's a bit tougher. I got pregnant of a guy, and he was an asshole, and he was really not okay. He was born on Christmas Day, 19 41 during the Second World War in a concentration camp in Shanghai. Can you figure out how screwed up this guy must be? How cold? He was born, he grew in a belly that only knew death and horror and lack of things, lack of everything. And fear, 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 with 4 capital letters. And this guy was born, almost died, of course, and not of course, but to make the drama complete. And his mother was a Russian American, and she went on a holiday in China and Japan. Very wrong timing. And his father was an English Scottishman. Yeah, so my daughter has 5 nationalities in her, and she, by the way, never once wanted to see him because, well, she heard my stories, but she also, even then, she didn't have the feeling of I need to see him. But we talked about it sometimes, and when I think she was 14 years old, I told her, let's find him. Yeah, let's see if we can find him on the internet somewhere. And we found him. I found him on Facebook. And she said, oh, is that him? Yeah, I recognize him from the other pictures that you presented me. And, well, I'm not interested, but if you want to write him, then you can do that. Yeah, just notify me, nothing more. Okay. So I wrote him. I'm doing very well, I'm doing amazing, and I know that you haven't treated me right, and you have hurt me a lot, and I still have back pain. Thank God it's gone now, but he had broken my tailbone, and it's still broken, and he did other things, and he also got on top of me, and when he was angry, and he tried to choke me, strangle me, and he sat on top of me, that is, on top of the baby, because she was 8 months old, and so she got it all, the whole trauma, and I need a sip. And I told him that he destroyed many things, and also by stealing money from me. And he said, oh, I'm so happy that you write me, because I wanted to apologize so many times, but I couldn't find you. He couldn't find me because I didn't have a landline since I left him, since I changed the locks on the doors. I didn't have... I knew that he didn't know my last name, and I had a sannyasin name, Ramita, and I changed it back to my birth name, so he couldn't find me anymore, and so I was happy with that. And he said, I'm really sorry about it, and I live in London now, I can come and live with you in Amsterdam. We didn't live in Amsterdam, but I wasn't telling him, because I could sense through the texting that he was still so aggressive. And if I would skip one day of not texting him, he got so angry. You need to text me, I need to know what's going on, I need to know where you're up to. And whoa. He said, what can I do for you? I said, well, I would like to have the money returned to me that you stole from me. So he transferred 600 euros to me. I loved that. And then another 1,000, and he said there's more where that came from. And the first mail I ended with, I don't want anything to do with you, but I just want you to know this. And you have a daughter, and she's so lovely. She's so lovely. So thank you for that, and thank you for making my life so extremely difficult, because I had to wake up from it. I had to get therapy and go to healers and to resolve the traumas in me and to release it. So thank you. And the money I gave to my daughter when she wanted to travel to Australia for half a year and New Zealand for half a year and a couple of months in Asia, so she had a nice start, and I gave her, that was 500, and the rest I paid for healings from healers, from a healer, and to get the trauma that he gave us away. And he wanted to meet me, and I said, I don't want to meet you, and I never pretended that I wanted to. But for him, it was his expectation, and I was like, yeah, bad luck for you, but this is it. I don't want. And he got so pissed that he didn't write me anymore, I think. And then I got off of Facebook, because Facebook, and he then 1.5 years ago, I was sitting in my living room wondering why I was still sitting in my living room, because it was in the middle of the night and I was so tired. And I didn't do anything. I didn't have a book in front of me, not a laptop, not a pen and paper, nothing. I was just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. It wasn't even like I was meditating. There was nothing. It was like I was waiting. And I hate the feeling of waiting, you know. This is life. My life is here now. I don't wait. There's always something inside of me to explore, or outside of me. But anyway, inside of me. I'm never bored. Never bored. I don't hate it to stand in line in the supermarket, because it's nice. It's time to check in with me, you know. And I was sitting there in the living room, and then after 1 hour, from my right side, there came this, it's like a cloud, it's like a wind that came, and it stopped in front of me, and I heard in my head, Avesh, 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 Avesh. That was his name, Avesh Miller. And officially Robert Noel Bruce Miller. And Noel because of the Christmas birth, yeah. And maybe you can calculate very quickly, he was twice my age. Yeah. And he stood there in front of me, so angry, so angry. It was actually the same intensity of anger that he had when he threw himself on top of me while my son was playing, and he got hurt. He was bleeding afterwards. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he got pushed away by him. I don't know. But anyway, he was so angry at me. He was so angry. And what came up for me to say was, I have forgiven you. I have forgiven you. I have forgiven you. And he still was so angry. So red hot angry. I said, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. And it's as if he was like, and then he left again. And when he was leaving, I shouted at him. I said, Avesh, wait, your daughter is... Oh, he doesn't want to hear Annemiek. Forget about it. Yeah, so that was the story of Avesh. You can still be angry if whatever you don't resolve now, you will take with you in the next life. And sometimes, like in this example, you will be busy with still those feelings in the in-between life, yeah? And you will see what you think you will see. So if you think you will see angels, or if that's in the common consciousness, no, that's not the word, in the consciousness, well, the consciousness that's in all of us, because we're connected, to believe in angels, then even if you had nothing to do with angels, you might see angels. It's an expectancy, a cultural expectancy. And but after the light, after the angels, you go back into a body. Your mind is split and will split off into another body. Okay, that's another clip, but having said that, yeah, okay, then another story that's nice. This happened just 1 month ago. At least when I realized this guy is dead. I met this guy when I was on Interrail with my boyfriend. I lived with him for 4 years. He came from the southern part of the Netherlands, and close to Belgium. And we had just finished our tour through Europe, and we loved it. We were tired, and we ended up in Liège in Belgium, and we couldn't find a train or bus or whatever to get us home to, well, the home of his parents, to stay there. And because we were students, we lived up north, more in the middle of the Netherlands, in Utrecht. And he said, oh, there's a phone there, because there weren't mobile phones back then, of course. So he said, I see a telephone cell there, box, and I'll go there and I'll phone my father and maybe my brother. I will see who's awake and who wants to pick us up. So he left for like 10 minutes maybe. And in the meantime, I saw a couch, a bench, and there was something big standing next to it, and I sat on the bench. And then I realized there isn't anything big standing next to this bench. It's a man who is gigantic. I don't know the definition of a giant, but his head, I'm not exaggerating, okay, his head was like this. His hands were twice mine. The size was twice mine. And his eyes were not not equally. His face wasn't, you know what I mean. Yeah, he wasn't a pretty giant. I'm sorry for the judgment, but I don't know how to say it otherwise, in a different way, because I was 18 years old, 19 years old, no, 18 years old, yeah, and I was in shock. I was like, and of course he felt it, and he thought my judgment was a bad one, but I didn't judge him. I was just in shock, because I had never seen such human being before, right? I mean, on the internet now you can Google people who look eccentric by birth, but not back then. This was my first eccentric guy and person, and I felt him closing off. I felt him like, oh, another one, like that. And I was sitting there trying to collect courage to talk to him. And I thought, well, let me start with smiling sweetly towards him. So I smiled and just openly to him. And then he responded 1 minute later by saying something to me, but most probably because he didn't socialize a lot, I couldn't understand him. I still don't know whether he was speaking some kind of dialect in Dutch, in Wallonian, or in French. And so I couldn't respond to that. But I smiled nicely, and I was soft, I was open, I wasn't afraid of him. I was alert, of course, but I wasn't afraid of him. And I was like, come on, let me say something. Make him know that he isn't bad. Make him know that I wanted to tell him that I love him. I wanted to tell him that there for me is no difference between him and everybody else. There isn't for me. And I wanted to tell him that he's okay, that I'm okay with him, that I'm not judging him, but I couldn't find the words. And especially when he had spoken, I realized he most probably won't understand me, and I still didn't know whether to speak in French or in Dutch. And so I'm from the Netherlands, if you didn't get that right. Yeah. And we were just sitting there. I also didn't dare looking at him because I was afraid that he might interpret it as glaring, as staring, and I didn't want to give him a bad feeling. And I felt so bad for him because I could sense his past. I could sense where he went through, and how he's cast it away, how he's not part of anything. And most probably somebody was picking him up later on. I don't know, I didn't see it. And then my boyfriend returned, and he must have seen the big man, the big guy next to me. But he waved at me and like, come here. And so I got my backpack and I joined him, and I said, did you see that? And he thought that I would judge him, that I wanted to gossip about him, but I wanted support from my boyfriend, so maybe together we could go sit with him and have a normal talk with him, or maybe you could do me a suggestion of what to say to him, because it really, he touched me. I mean, maybe you can feel it. He still touches me so much. And he was so good. He was so good. Yeah. And I wanted to explain to my boyfriend, no, you're judging me for judging him, but I'm not judging him. But this is the case. I want to talk to him. I just want to be friends with him. I want him to know that I'm a friend of him. And but then my boyfriend started talking about his father, and that he sent his other son, so that the brother would pick us up in half an hour, and we sat outside waiting for the car because that was necessary, is what my boyfriend said. And I didn't go back to see this giant. And a month ago, I hadn't thought about him in decades. And a month ago, I did think about him a lot back then. Yeah, oh, I should have. And I thought about him. Next day, I thought again about him. And then the third day, I was like, oh my God, he's dead and he's here. Like a thank you. Like, yeah, I'm getting goosebumps now. That's always an affirmation from the angels. That's true what I'm saying. I mean, and it all is true because I'm only talking from my heart, but it's a little push to tell it again. Yeah. He was touched by me back then, but couldn't express it, and I was touched by him, and he never forgot me, and it makes me so happy. Yeah. So maybe from these stories you can learn that if you think a lot about somebody you haven't thought of in a while, maybe somebody from the other side, 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 maybe somebody from is trying to connect to you. Yeah, okay. I have one more guy for you, and maybe you can guess. It's not that he really appeared to me, but he did in, not even in a feeling, but in an experience, in another, he brings me in another state of mind, in another perspective. Jesus. Yeah. For, I think, almost 20 years now, I have a poster of him that I saw once in somebody's house, and I said, that's a nice drawing of Jesus, because he's very happy there. And I said, he must have been, because he's not so close to God, but he's so into God. He's in God. He knows he's a part of God. He knows he's the Son of God, and he knows that we're all sons of God. But he realized it, and yeah, and he was only love, and but it was just hanging. It was more in my living room all these years to shock people, because people knew that I wasn't a Christian in the sense of religion. I was born Christian because my parents baptized me, but when I was pregnant of my first one, I realized that I don't want to give any religion to him, because he needs to find out for himself what suits him. And so I unscribed myself from the church, and I'm happy I did that. Yeah, I believe in, it's not like I believe in God. I love God. And I'm blessed because I know he loves me. I even have can you see it like this? A tattoo in astrological signs of God on my hand. I don't need a reminder, but I like it. I have 5 planets in the 9th house, so bear with me, yeah? I'm a freak when it comes to God, yeah. But slowly, so I had it more to shock people, like, I don't believe that he suffered when he was like on the cross, like all the crosses that you see in houses. I believe he was a very strong man. He must have been also, because he walked through the country to share the word of God, to share the truth. And he was not a carpenter, but a fisherman. So he must have been also physically strong, yeah? But I mean strong, like he must have enjoyed life. I'm sure he enjoyed life, because I also have very good laughs with him. He's lovely. Yes, so. But I think because I had this drawing of him for so many years in my house, so, yeah, I looked at it so many times, at him, at Jesus, at Jeshua, that he kind of manifested in my life. He sneaked his way into my life. And I like it. I didn't know I was inviting him, but I was. And I'm happy I did. Yeah. It's, for me, Jesus and God and love, light, they're synonyms. Yeah. It's really equal. God equals light. God equals love. God equals great joy for me. Yeah. And Jesus equals the higher self for me. And it's not necessary in the sense that I already knew the truth about me, but I was always missing something. Like in Buddhism, they don't talk about God there. And I missed the part of love, and I wanted to get into it every day. And sometimes in satsang it happened, but not always. And well, I'm into it every hour now. Yeah, okay. I hope you enjoyed. I guess so, otherwise you wouldn't be still sticking around. Yeah. Subscribe if you like it, and like if you like it, and comment if you like it. I see you next time. Thank you for watching. These clips are also mine.